All right, we're going to call the meeting to order at 6:30. Welcome. Unfortunately, Sheila, the chair of the select board, is ill, so I'll be filling in for her tonight. So welcome. I'd like to recognize the public. If you haven't already signed in on our sign-in sheet, please do so. The rules of procedure are attached underneath the sign-in sheet, so should you want to look at them. Are there any new additions to the agenda?
There are agendas. You all have an agenda?
Yes.
Anybody need it?
Hearing none. Any changes to the agenda order?
None.
All right, hearing none. We'll go on to approval of the minutes. We have 2 meeting minutes to approve. The regular meeting of May 30th, 2018, and the energy plan hearing. That was also held on May 30th, 2018.
I move that we accept the minutes of, do we need to do it separately?
No, we can.
Both, the minutes of both meetings.
And I shall second that.
All right. Motion from Richard, second by Veranda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I'm going to abstain. So motion passes. Moving on to the highway.
Gordon, Richard, and Miranda, please sign these.
Dan, you're up. General update?
Our general update, we're all done grading roads. We're working on our Windham Regional Grant ditching. The boys are working on that now. We're also washing bridges, washing aprons. Probably not, maybe towards the end of next week, we'll probably start mowing roadsides pretty quick. Because the grass is getting tall. And we'll be setting culverts from now until we're run out of culverts to set, so. And our excavator is in, it came in Friday. They're doing their delivery prep on it, and hopefully maybe by the end of the week, first of the week, we'll have it.
Excellent.
Great, thank you. Moving on to your second agenda item, the equipment trailer.
Yeah, I got prices on some low beds,
Here's,
and I just got another price on another one, but they wanted like $26,000 for a new one. So I got,
you want a copy of this? There's one for you here.
I know, I got it right on top of my head. We can get a brand new one, it's a Kaufman. They're made in Greensboro, North Carolina for under $15,000, and it is a 30,000 GVW, which will be enough for the backhoe, the excavator, and the tractor. And it's it's 14,900 something, and that's
14,190.
which,
But delivery.
14,190 and $700 delivery.
Oh, okay.
So it's under 15,000. And any of these trailers that we get, they're gonna have to build them. So you're looking at 6 to 8 weeks before you get a trailer. So, and any of our trucks, except for the 1 tons, will tow the trailer. And of course, I'm gonna have to have somebody local move it. And you're probably looking every time they move it, it'd be a couple $100 when they move it, so, depending on where they gotta go. So I got you guys.
And this is something we're envisioning moving fairly rapidly and
Yeah, we got,
frequently.
yeah, instead of road, and that's a long ways to go from here to
Right.
Gabby's house. That nice covered bridge, you'll be seeing a yellow thing going through the covered bridge.
And this is something you plan for anyway when
Yes,
you bought the Mini. I
you're
mean,
gonna
that's
have
sort of
to.
in the back of your mind that
Yeah.
you're gonna need to have something to transport it, right?
And we can use it for moving, loading culverts on it, I mean, various things you can use it for, so, I mean, it's gonna come in handy,
Okay.
so.
And it'll move 3 pieces of equipment, right?
I can move 3 pieces of equipment, not all at the same time, but I can,
Right. But you can spread out the cost by what you would have to do to rent something else to move.
Right.
So to be clear, Dan, you want the 15 ton, basically, I'm assuming
Yeah.
that stands for.
That's
here,
correct.
Good.
So I'll make a motion to approve the Kaufman trailer purchase of the 15 ton trailer that Dan is requesting for a grand total of $14,890.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Gordon, that's a second by Veranda to purchase the 15-ton Kaufman trailer. Any more discussion?
Use it in good health.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Hold on, opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. All right, Dan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And that's highway, on to new business. Windham Regional Commissioner appointment. Luckily, I had a discussion with Steve Lemke last week, and he was gracious enough to volunteer to be our second Windham Regional Commissioner. So I would highly recommend that we take Steve up on his offer before he changes his mind. Yeah, he's a very active citizen, active in river and watershed related activities, and he would be a huge asset for our town to have on that commission.
Change my mind.
Can I say something?
Yes.
We had the Windham Regional come out. It was your last board meeting. They had Steve was there, a bunch of people from Green River, different places. Windham Regional sponsored it. They had the streams, the A&R come down with a water table, so that everybody could see how when it floods, what the water does to the banks and stuff. And there was I was surprised. There was a really good crowd. There was probably 50 people there.
An excellent presentation by you and the guys from Halifax and Marlboro. So.
Yeah, we had a previous engagement, but I heard it was a great meeting.
All right, so I'd entertain a motion.
I move that Steve Lemke be the Windham Commission Regional Representative. Appointed.
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion by Richard and a second by Veranda to appoint Steve Lemke as our Windham Regional Commissioner.
Do you want to sign in for
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Can I circle back to a question for Dan on the trailer, just from the ramps? Do you mind if I do that? Is that okay?
You can't vote on anything.
No, it's not
You only
voting.
get one vote.
This is more just curiosity. The ramps on this trailer, it's not, I assume looking at the pricing, it's not like the Easy Load where you level or you load them and then it flips up. So are these walk-on ramps?
These are 8 foot. They're hydraulic.
Okay, but they're walk-on.
Yeah.
The trailer stays.
It's not
the
a
same
tilt.
level.
It's not a tilt bed.
And we're comfortable with all the equipment
Yes.
loading onto
Yeah.
that same trailer. Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Sure, no.
I appreciate that.
No, it's good.
I didn't recognize that until after.
All right, moving on. Brattleboro Area Prevention Coalition. Hello, welcome.
Thank you. Here's like our little PowerPoint, and then here's the primer that we're referring to.
Thank you.
And also,
Thank you.
I have some extras in case there's anybody else that isn't here or anybody who may be interested in.
Do they want to come and sit?
Yeah, just as long
Do
as
you
they
want to
have
come and
one
sit
for
at the
the rest of
table?
their. Sure. No, it's okay.
No, because then your backs will be to me.
Yeah, we don't want the back of the camera, we want to see your faces.
Okay,
Sorry.
it's okay. So we're fine, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Speak from there.
Okay, great. So my name is Cassandra Holloway, and I am the director of the Brattleboro Area Prevention Coalition.
And I'm Rolf Parker, and I'm also with the BAPC.
And we have been working with the Regional Commission, Windham Regional Commission, for I think about 6 months now, working on a primer to provide to towns. And this primer was initially created in Lamoille County, and with prevention coalitions working with their regional commission, and we really liked it, and I'm now bringing it here. So we customized it to meet our local needs. And so we're coming to every town, and Brattleboro covers 5 towns, including Guilford, Brattleboro Area Prevention Coalition. And so just to be clear, like, the primer isn't meant to restrict or mandate towns to take action, but rather just to provide different options and ideas that towns have used to address substance abuse in their communities. And that can be anywhere from town plans to regulations or non-regulatory actions, or just placemaking. And what we can do is we can provide technical support. We're connected with the Department of Health and all the other prevention coalitions that are working with their towns. So we're really up to date about what's happening throughout the state and also just nationally, which is great. So the connection that elected officials have and prevention coalitions is, I love this, says, this is from a Winston Churchill adapted quote, but basically, if we shape our public spaces, afterwards our public spaces shape us. And as we know, substance abuse can really impact a community. The slide here that has a pie chart on it is recent data about youth's perception of harms in Vermont. We haven't gotten our local data yet, but this is just a snapshot about Vermont youth, and this was done in 2017. And you can look at, because of time, you can look through this whole thing. We have a lot of data here for you. But the thing I wanted to point out here is that binge drinking and marijuana use, regular marijuana use, only 36% of students high school students thought that it was a high risk to binge drink every weekend. 24% thought it was a high risk to smoke marijuana regularly. But 68% thought it was a high risk to smoke a pack of cigarettes. And the reason for that is because not only do they know the health issues, but also we don't see it. Like, people aren't smoking generally in public. There's a higher tax, so it's hard to access. And so the youth see that it's not a social norm, and so they assume, that that's a higher risk. And they've also seen the impact of it. Where alcohol, although people are affected by alcohol, as well as marijuana, it's not spoken about as much. And Rolf will talk to you a little about vaping, as I'm sure you all heard about the vaping. It's a whole new world.
So as a part of my job as I'm going into local schools, I've been at Putney Central School and at Leland and Gray. And at Putney Central School, the students weren't aware that there was as much nicotine in a single one of these Juul pods as a whole pack of cigarettes. None of them knew at all. Like they guessed, some of them didn't even know that there's nicotine in it. But so that's basically just one of the things that we're trying to get into the schools and help spread, because it's obviously the nicotine in and of itself is a problem when you're talking about, especially when you're talking about middle school and high school students. So.
So we're really trying to update smoking policies with the vaping products, because including in the school system, the supervisory union. So those are some things that we're always kind of staying on top of.
Just a quick question. Are you able to utilize any of the medical field to help substantiate the fact that using nicotine as an adolescent until you're probably 26 years old is an issue to the brain?
Well,
But in your talk about vaping or cigarettes or marijuana,
So in my talk with these young people, what I'm emphasizing really are primarily two things. One, what does it mean to be addicted? It's not like Doritos, they're so addictive, or this video game is so addictive. It's more along the lines of, have any of you seen one of your parents or uncles or aunts try to quit smoking? What does it look like? And the reaction I heard today was, it's not pretty. And so then we get into what is exactly going on chemically with you when you're addicted to a substance that you have to pay for, and that the only way you can get rid of those negative feelings is to get more nicotine back into your system. And then also, so that's really the primary ways that I've been dealing with the kids is, there are people who are definitely making money off getting you addicted, or if you get addicted early, actually that's the phraseology, the earlier you get addicted, the more money goes to them. Right. And they do not want to be manipulated or tricked in that way.
Yeah.
That's the way I think.
No, I think the addiction piece is huge to understand, but it's the mental development of the brain that I don't think kids understand.
No, well
adults don't understand.
The window into it is that I think is that when you think about needing that so that you don't feel irritable, then your brain is no longer present for doing other things that you want to do, and that's including your homework or other things that you enjoy doing.
We've also not only talked about brain development, but we've also talked a lot about the kind of the way that they're being manipulated by, because I think that really resonates more with them about then their health is like, oh my gosh, you're taking advantage of me. And so he uses third world countries as kind of a way to show how they're using their power to manipulate young people.
But the other thing is that it's unfortunately the age of kids who can be exposed to this is so wide that the different ages, the presentation is a little bit different, you know, so
Right.
for the older groups, then I would get into the neurological aspect.
We have to have middle schoolers go to elementary, like kindergartners, and they dress up
Yeah.
as skunks and they, like different characters, and they talk about the effects of smoking on young people. So it's kind of cool that we start young with them. So this model here, which is also on page 7, this is just talking about the different parts of prevention. And so obviously you have the person themselves, and then you've got their connections to their personal relationships, and then you've got things like schools or their churches or anything else that they're participating in, and then the community, and then also it goes to the policies and systems. And these all play a role in helping people to make the choices or to have the behaviors that are going to be best for them. So we just, again, just wanted to reiterate that. And I think we'll move through a little bit quickly.
Yeah, let's go through a little quickly.
Yeah.
We could
It's all here. We're happy to come talk more to you.
We were excited to see that, you know, in your town plan, that you actually talked about substance abuse as being something that you shared a concern with and saw as an appropriate thing to be included in the town
It's
plan.
on page 8.
Oh, she's right. It's page 8. And we've been invited to go to the Putney Planning Board, and we would love to come back here as well if that seemed appropriate. Part of our job is to be fully versed in the different municipal, not just regulatory actions, but other non-regulatory things that other towns have done. And I think it's on page 16. And I should actually, jumping ahead to examples, because I know you guys.
You're talking about this?
Actually, I was jumping all the way ahead to exact examples because I know we used up some of our time.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's, I think, page 11.
Thank you.
Yeah. Which got cut off, sadly. So, unfortunately, 11 comes down, so you can see it.
Right, so these are just some of the examples that you'll find in that primer. But the liquor license in Brattleboro, where instead of just coming and presenting and paying the fee, they go a little farther and say, well, what's your history? Have you had a liquor license anywhere else? And what's the history behind that? And also requiring the filers actually be present at the time of the meeting so that, you know, they can actually answer questions. Other towns as well, in Weathersfield, where they've got a regulation constricting where tobacco retailers can be in association with a school, because nationally when they do mapping, in some places that there's concentrations around schools.
And that's, they kind of had to focus on the paraphernalia because, as you know, as liquor commissioners, you're very limited on what you can do around tobacco permits, but you can limit around paraphernalia because it's a different.
So paraphernalia, by paraphernalia here, you mean paraphernalia
Like
associated?
pipes or like, you know, bongs that they say.
Oh,
for tobacco
okay.
use. So sometimes that will deter at least that piece of it, but sometimes that also will deter tobacco use. But that can also be a preemptive with marijuana potentially becoming legalized and maybe commercialized if you want to preventively kind of prevent that from coming into town. That's, I think, what Ludlow and Weatherfield's intention is to make sure not only is it not there now, but also that they're preparing for that. And then, yeah, and then you've got the other two towns around smoking.
Quite right.
Here, you can
Thanks.
skip mine.
You know what? Actually, it's my glasses more than the page. So in Manchester, they prohibit smoking and substance use in public parks, and then in Springfield, they've prohibited smoking on the same side of the library, same side of the street as the library, or within 75 feet from public entrance, or in front of establishments with no smoking signs. And any of these things may or may not be appropriate for your town. As I say, our job is to go and be fully versed in things that exist and come offer them to you as a smorgasbord, basically.
And lastly, just we're very happy to come, and they're all very different in how towns can approach alcohol versus tobacco or marijuana. So we're happy to come and provide data to you and to reach out to your communities and find out, like, we can have the resources to do some of that community outreach to find out how the community feels about if you wanted to make any kind of changes. Obviously, we're there to offer technical support. We are there to recognize, we're very good at, with Brattleboro, promoting their progressive approach towards addressing how to, help their liquor licensees. And then just kind of walk the walk with you all, so.
How long have you been in existence? This
Yeah, so Brattleboro Area Prevention Coalition's been around for over 25 years. Initially started, probably the first 10 years of that was doing mostly parent education, like parent classes and school, working around substance abuse in the schools. And then we got a drug-free communities grant, and then we're doing a whole lot, and we have a staff of 4. And then it became a staff of 1, me, about 4 years ago, and then I was able to hire a youth program coordinator about two and a half years ago, and he does 20 hours and works with the supervisory union, works with our kids throughout the whole supervisory union. And then I just recently was able to hire Rolf to do some of our program kind of coordination, which is what I did prior.
is it all grant funded?
Yes, yeah, it is.
Mostly from the feds?
Mostly from the state. We got a federal grant. We were applied for another one to address opioids. The other thing we've been doing a lot has been doing grants with other prevention coalitions in the county. So that's the Windham County Prevention Partnership. Kind of happened just fall into our laps from funding that came from the Department of Health because we were a high risk region. And then they said, oh, you all work together. We had already been communicating quite a bit with each other. So now we're actually applying for grants together, and we're looking to actually see how we can do more of that just to sustain all the wonderful work that's happened in county. And the nice thing about this is very unique compared to other parts of the state. There's some parts that don't even have prevention coalitions supporting them, like whole counties and so regions, or they have one prevention coalition covering a whole county. We have 5, and so we're very rich in resources, and that we're really fortunate, and we're being recognized by the state as something that is a great model. Yeah.
Any other questions as we wrap up?
Just lastly, I was going to ask, Walter, have you been able to contact the Guilford Central School to go in there and talk to kids? I'm sorry, I thought you said.
Oh, sorry, Rolf. I'm sorry.
Rolf.
I'm sorry.
Rolf, what a pig.
It's my.
It's
I was
perfect.
like, no, sorry.
I thought you were talking to someone off
Yeah,
my
that's
shoulder.
okay.
That's
We both were like,
Well, I have not yet done that, but very much look forward to.
Scott, the youth program coordinator, has been working with Guilford slightly, just kind of more. We make ourselves available constantly to the schools, so
Awesome.
But he's doing really around tobacco right
Tobacco's
That's
my
great.
focus. And 15 through 20 will show you the CDC-sponsored survey results for the state. We don't have the local ones yet, but there's some very important information there.
So we'd love to be invited back, maybe for other conversations.
So
Yes.
for
Thank you.
people who want to, like people who are watching this on BCTV or family members who are concerned, what's the best way a person could become involved in helping with this effort?
So we have a website that's BAPC802 .org, sorry, or Brattleboro Area Prevention Coalition.org. We just shortened it. And then our number is 802-257-2175. Or you can do BAPC802 @gmail.com. So those are the different ways you can reach us.
And
And
maybe-
we're doing lots of work, so we'd love to.
Peter, can we put this on our website? Is that
Yeah.
okay with you guys?
Do you have us in PDF format?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or Excel, or not Excel, PowerPoint? If you could send that to
Yeah.
me. I know Rolf has my email address.
Yeah.
We'll share that with the community.
And the
That's
primer
great.
was supposed to be on the Windham Regional Commission. I think it will be there too, this primer.
Yeah, I looked for it, I couldn't find it.
Yeah, so I have to just reach out again to Sue McMahon, because we had made some updates, so she was, I think, waiting for us to make that change.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure I understand the title of your PowerPoint.
Oh.
A new tool to help link substance abuse prevention with land use planning.
Well, sometimes it's zoning, it's kind of more of a zoning, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, we should probably write zoning, was probably a better way of, because then you can talk
I
about
think zoning's a
density
better
or,
word.
yeah, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
feedback.
Right.
Yes.
That probably won't be.
No, zoning won't be good either, actually.
Be full in Guilford.
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming
for
out and
coming.
talking to
Appreciate the
us.
education.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
And Rolf.
Doing good work.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
And next, I'd like to welcome Senior Solutions. Is somebody here representing them?
Yes.
You want to come up to the
Second
front
try.
row?
She had a return,
Oh, no.
yeah.
My second appearance. Oops, sorry.
Is this okay?
Yeah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me back. My name is Joanne Ehrenhaus, and I am the Community Relations Director for Senior Solutions. We're actually the Southeastern Agency for Aging. And what we do is look after the population that is over 60. We started out as fully funded with the Older Americans Act, which was a federal program. Right now, we're funded 37.5% through federal funds, same about 37.5% with state funds. We get about another 12% from other federal programs. The remaining we get from donations from towns and also from private donations, and we're getting quite a few grants that we're going after independently, because we discovered last year that especially in the Brattleboro area, there is a lot of food insecurity among the aging population. And one of the biggest obstacles that we as a service organization have is reaching that population because of our rural landscape. And also the reticence of the people who are in the greatest need. They will not admit that they need help. They don't want to take any money or services that they think other people probably need more. And they don't have a lot of access to the internet, so they're not exactly going on our website, which is seniorsolutionsvt.org. Not difficult, but if you don't have a computer or you don't have internet service, you can't access it. And we cannot call people and solicit them. We can't call someone up and go, I hear that you are on, on Social Security.
That's not a good idea.
And we'd like to help you. No, and all of our services are of course free because we are funded through other sources. So we depend a lot of times on the wonderful people who are volunteer drivers for Meals on Wheels, who are sometimes, particularly in the winter, the only people that come in contact with some of the aging population. These are people who many times can't even get out the door to get to their mailbox in the winter. So what we have are caseworkers. When we have a referral or someone calls, maybe a relative calls because their mother or father is losing weight, isn't looking good, isn't getting out to shop, etc., we can send a caseworker out to determine and make an assessment. What is the problem? Do they need to sign up for 3 Squares, which is available to anyone over 60? They can get additional funds so that they can buy food. And in this area, it's especially good this time of year because you can, as a 3 Squares participant, get cash crop money at the Brattleboro Farmers Market. So what you do is you have $10 taken out of your 3 Squares card. They'll give you $20 in chips that you can then buy fresh fruit and vegetables that day. And you can go back the next week, you can go to another farmer's market. There's not a limit. You're able to get as much as you need. Of course, that doesn't help the people who are shut in.
Right.
So we have not only meals, so we don't deliver the meals, we don't make the meals. We're strictly the administrative arm because we have to have a nutritionist make sure that the meals meet the qualifications for people. However, we do have something called the Friendly Visitors. So people who, of any age, who have some time to donate to neighbors, friends, relatives, whatever, can go and keep them connected. I don't know if you guys watched the news this week, but I saw on the regular news channel a study about friendship. And they found, there's been studies done, that people who don't have friends, as you get up in years and sometimes your friends are passing away or you can't get out, you're alone, you get depressed. The net result on your health, according to this study, is that not having a good friend network is the equivalent on your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So it has a significant impact, and that's not even counting the lonely factor that makes many people depressed. Then they fall into maybe self-neglect, and it makes them vulnerable to other forms of abuse, financial, extortion and things like exploitation and other forms of abuse. So there's a whole string of scenarios. But to you guys here locally, aside from the farmers market, we are, because of the food insecurity, we had a bigger demand on our meals program last year. We were lucky, we got a nice little grant that helped to plump it up, so we were able to feed everyone. And also this year, the Federal Money for Older Americans Act was increased a bit, so we have a little bit more money statewide for that program. But to help, we're doing a big fundraising dance in Brattleboro, September 29th. It's going to be Dance for Meals. So it's going to be from 7 till 11, and in the middle there'll be like a silent auction. There'll be light refreshments, and it's going to be at the Stone Church in Brattleboro. Also, we're going to be switching it up. We're going to have Shall We Dance, give us a dance demonstration and a dance lesson. Then we're going to have, dancing for whatever you want to do. And then after the silent auction, probably around 9:30, we'll switch it up and get a little bit more bouncy music, so that as that population decides they might want to go home, then the next crowd will come in and they can dance until 11, at which time, after 11, I make last call. So we're looking forward to that. Should be quite a lot of fun. And, invite everybody to come. It'll be a donation because we're a 501c3. That will benefit the Brattleboro area Meals on Wheels. And I try to impress on the population that we serve that it is not a gift. These are people who richly deserve what we can do for them. They've raised their families, they've worked and taken care of things. And as they age, they can't earn the same money that they used to because they can't get around as much. We're all part of that same life cycle, and we need to take care of them. It's an area and a segment of our population that has been marginalized for quite a few years. So we're changing up the conversation, and we don't want to present older Vermonters as elderly or fragile. I mean, these are the Meals on Wheels drivers. These are the people who volunteer for almost every organization in our state. They are by no means takers, and they are certainly a resource that we want to preserve. And we also serve people who are not getting up in years, but maybe have other challenges physically. In that case, we have caretaker and caregiver respite grants and some help that we can do so that some of the caregivers aren't going to get burned out. And I think that's very important because they're doing a service that a lot of people could not do day after day.
Do you know what the situation is in Guilford specifically?
No, I
with this
don't. That's why I'm
population?
getting acquainted. Yeah. And I hope you guys will continue the conversation with me so I can find out. I know that there are care groups in every town practically who are doing a phenomenal job as volunteers, taking people to doctor's appointments, helping weatherproof the houses, you name it. These are volunteers who you could never pay the government. We would never be able to collect enough taxes to take care of all of that. They're so valuable. Also we have SHIP counseling, which is State Health Insurance Plan counseling, so that if people aren't sure what to sign up for, we have a person in our office who's expert at that. We also do Medicaid and Medicare counseling. So you can call us up at Senior Solutions and talk to Patty, get an appointment with her. Let's see what else. I'm trying to, another thing is locally, which is of interest to you. We're meeting this Friday at the American Legion with representatives from American Legion and VFW. Our volunteer coordinator and myself are starting a vet-to-vet visitors program.
Oh, what a great idea.
So, really excited about it. We have a nice model that we're copying the template with permission, but making it much simpler. And we want to make sure that we get veteran input on how we're going to structure it and how they're going to run it. I think it's very important because, the vets, VFWs and the American Legions are a great meeting place, but once a lot of the vets age out of their ability to come and meet, they get lonely. And I think a lot of them have very special needs and special experiences that only another vet can really relate to. And this way they'll form good friendships and keep people connected. We want to keep the aging population in their homes and in their communities where they want to be. And, we'll do everything we can to make that happen, and while they're there, keep them happy and engaged and healthy. So I will give you the.
I think Guilford Cares ought to be in touch with Joanne. I mean, to me, that's, so
yeah.
we'll make sure, if you have something you can leave us, we'll make sure to get,
These two senior helpline.
wonderful.
Do you know
It's got our
Leah,
helpline
who
number.
runs Guilford Cares, Leah, who's?
I
Leah
may have
Getzler.
met her. I'm relatively new.
Because we have a food pantry and
Perfect.
program set up to
Did you get
support our
commodities?
elderly.
The commodities program that they're trying to
I don't know.
do. That's
I
a
don't
great
know.
program, but they can only make deliveries to where there's a significant number of, they can't deliver to everybody's house.
Right,
But if there
but they
is a
could at the
CARES
Grange,
group.
for instance,
Yeah,
where
they could
people
come-
come to pick up or
Right,
to
and then
deliver
the
from.
CARES group could
Yeah.
make some deliveries to the homebound
Yeah.
people.
So maybe we can ask Peter to get Joanne's information over to Leah
That'd be great.
Gessner,
Yeah.
Okay.
and Guilford
I'm gonna
Cares.
leave these with you. Can I just tell the public the senior
Sure.
helpline number?
Absolutely.
Okay,
please.
anybody out there, if it's not you, you may have a relative, a neighbor, a friend, somebody that you're a little worried about, I would call 800-642-5119. That is our helpline number, and that's kind of like the portal to all of our many services. And
I think you should
another,
repeat it one more time.
should I? 800-642-5119.
Perfect.
Thank
That's
you
open
very
24
much.
hours a day, you can call,
Well, you'll get a live person between 8:30 and 4 o'clock.
so leave a message otherwise.
Yeah, and I don't like messages. I think there's nothing like speaking to a live person. And our helpline people are extremely receptive and knowledgeable and very kind.
Thank you.
Great,
That's
thank you
great.
so much,
Thanks.
Joanne.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah,
I
I'm
guess.
sorry that happened. that
Oh,
You
well,
weren't
thanks,
on
don't
the
worry
agenda,
about it.
but you're
You know,
back and you've gotten the word out.
It made my trip here tonight very easy.
You know exactly where you're going.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'm looking forward to
Have a
talking
wonderful
to you.
night.
All right, next on our agenda is a placeholder for the communications project, and I think Sheila was going to speak to that, so since she is ill, I'm going to table that, okay?
Correct.
The Windham County Humane Society contract, Sheila was also going to have the information for that discussion, so
Well, it's
we're,
primarily being tabled because we were actually sent a draft
oh,
copy.
okay,
We weren't sent a final copy, and there was some information, their notes were still in the copy we sent.
Right, I saw that.
So- redlined.
Yeah, it was redlined, and then the contract cost was not in it. So they have not returned contact to me as of this evening, so.
Makes sense, thank you for
good reason to
tabling
table
it.
it. On to Fort Dummer, the Rec Commission's proposal for an MOU. Let's see, Wendy and Wendy's here to speak to that.
Hi. We're always trying to look for opportunities for Guilford residents to participate in recreation. And this wonderful opportunity has come about, and I'd like to share it with you. It originated from this pamphlet here, which is the Guilford Recreation Resources pamphlet with all the recreation opportunities in town. And in looking at that, we read under Fort Dummer State Park, it says, a free day pass for Fort Dummer State Park is available to Guilford residents at the town clerk's office.
Oh, no.
Right? So we took it from there and contacted the Vermont Department of Forest, Parks and Recreation to see if that was a relationship that we could forge, and they're very receptive. And I spoke to Craig Whipple, who's the director of the Vermont State Parks, and he drafted up a memorandum of understanding, and I was wondering if you all have a copy of this.
I read it, yeah.
So it's something that the Rec Commission would like to move forward with if we have your approval.
And so, I mean, just to give the viewers at home a summary, it would be a $3 cost, right, for Guilford residents
Yes.
if we sign this agreement. And what is it if we don't sign this agreement? Do you know? I don't know the cost. I was just wondering if the cost difference was.
I'm not sure what it would cost otherwise without the free pass. But the Guilford residents would come here, they would show proof that they were residents of Guilford, and they would get some sort of a form or a pass that they could use for the season. And then anytime they'd like to go and use the resources at Fort Dummer, they would present it to the person that was checking them in, and they would get a free pass for the day. They have trails, hiking trails, there's a swimming hole, there's horseshoes and volleyball, picnic area, and that would be all included in the day use pass for people.
So where does the $3 come in if it's a free pass?
The Guilford Rec Commission, at the end of the season, we would pay the total of however many people took advantage of this opportunity.
Okay, so we're reimbursing the state.
It would be free to the residents, and we would reimburse the number of
The town.
residents that access this free pass, essentially.
It's great.
Quick question, so, just for clarification, so would the town clerk have to record the number of people or who they were, or is that a responsibility of the state to do that?
Yes, the state. There's a contact. Rob Van Zant is the manager at Fort Dummer State Park, and he would set up a system there where when people would come and issue their pass, it would be recorded. And so at the end of the season, there'd be a tally of how many people utilized the free pass.
So it was my understanding that Fort Dummer has a charge during a certain part of the year and then it's free. Well, I just know during the winter. I'm not sure what the ratio of paid to free is, but it's a wonderful thing you've done. Our rec commission, they're real go-getters.
I know. Now, where would the money come from the rec commission's budget?
Yes.
And you guys, I mean, just because there's no cap on it, I don't know that there's going to be, a big run and 2,000 people are, the entire town's going to, say, woohoo, let's go, check out the trails of Fort Dummer. But you guys are comfortable that you can cover the expected usage?
That's a good question. We do have our monthly meeting this week, and so we could look at our current budget and allocate a cap of funds. And for the first year, we could try it out and see how many people benefited from the free pass.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
And is the free pass for the individual for that, it's not a daily pass? It's for the term, or is it a daily pass, so that $3 could?
Yeah, they could have a card that proves that they're Guilford residents and use it every day if they wanted to.
But there's no additional, it's not $3 a visit, it's $3 for getting the pass to have.
Per person, I guess.
Per person.
Per person versus per visit.
Yeah, it would be per resident. But it's a yearly pass, so to speak, if they have.
Seasonal.
Or a seasonal, thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.
Perfect, thank you.
Steve, did you have a
Well, that was sort of my question too. If I understand it correctly, anybody comes in for a single day pass can get a free pass to Fort Dummer?
Well, they would pick up their form here from Penny after they prove that they're residents, and then they would keep it for the season. And if they wanted to use Fort Dummer, they would just issue their pass.
Oh, you forged this as a brand new deal. It's not that there was a free pass to Fort Dummer existing already. Okay.
Penny said she wasn't aware of anything. She didn't have any forms, and Craig Whipple didn't seem to have any knowledge of a former relationship.
So basically, this is $3 for a seasonal pass, and you're picking up the $3 for everybody to a certain cap limit
$3
Okay.
per visit,
per visit.
per person.
It is per visit
It's
per
per
person.
visit, or is it,
Mhm.
And is there anything for families, or is it still per person?
I could ask if there was a family rate. I could
I
ask.
think there's, he had said that this is a relationship that they have, as a template they use with other towns. So there might be some of these questions are great to, bring forward to just clarify, what that looks like.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. I'm really glad that you followed up and found that there actually wasn't a free pass as advertised, but we could make it so.
Yeah, and maybe there's a way to just set a cap, like
That's
to a
just-
certain amount, like, and then,
I would suggest a cap. I mean, and then revisit the issue and see what usage you're actually getting. I mean, I guess I was trying to think of a reasonable cap, and if it's $300, that's 100 visits, right? Does that seem like a reasonable
Yeah. I mean,
cap to do the initial
The
year?
first 100 people get the free
Yeah.
thing. Maybe that's a good way to approach it.
I'd be happy if 100 people were.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
So-
Gordon, you look like
No,
you're gonna.
no, I'm just thinking the 100 people, it comes back to though, I think that if you have 20 families and each family has 3 members in it, okay? And those members visit more than once, you know, it's not really your first 100 people or families of Guilford, it's the number of visits if that $3 is being,
The first 100 uses, yeah, so.
first 100
If you wanna use them all up, you have to.
But anyway, I think the cap's a good idea, and I think it's a good place to start to understand, you know, how, I think it's great that you're putting it out there.
And how does the message get out about when that cap has been reached? Then what happens after that point? I mean, does the state have to notify you that the cap has been met? And then how does that get communicated to Guilford residents?
I guess we would be in contact with Rob Van Zant, who's the manager at Fort Dummer, and he can let us know when we reached our cap. And then we could communicate on Front Porch Forum and the Guilford Rec
And it should be on our
website.
website too.
Or at the, with the clerk, if you need to go to the clerk to get your free pass, then
Right,
that's
she could
easy
tell
saying,
you.
no, sorry, but we're sold out. If we're so lucky to be sold out.
But then you have everyone else with passes out there already.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And did we say how much it costs without this discount?
We didn't
I
know.
didn't
I
know.
don't know.
Okay, I just
I
was,
assuming it's $3, but I don't know for sure.
mhm.
So we're not really getting a discount perhaps, we're just subsidizing, we're subsidizing Guilford residents to have that as a recreational opportunity. I don't think it's a discount,
I don't think it's
it may,
discount.
yeah,
I don't know.
but it's a subsidy that the town is providing
most
for
of
our
the year
citizens.
To begin with. I mean, they only
Yes.
charge from
Right.
Memorial Day through Labor Day.
Oh, is that what?
Yeah, and it's,
Oh,
the rest of the
okay.
year, it's free for use.
Probably fine.
Steve?
On the MOU on number 1, it says the town shall design, print, and make available to all Guilford residents some form of resident identification for the citizens of Guilford. So they have to have a card that says they're, you know, verified as a Guilford resident or something. They can't just show their license or something else, I guess, right? So, yeah.
We can create that and
Yeah.
and then give it to Penny.
Okay.
Yes.
Everybody will
So
want one.
are you looking for a motion for the town to sign the proposed MOU with the cap? And the rec commission to work out the details with Penny
Sounds wonderful.
and the state?
Sounds great.
I so move.
Second,
Alright. We have a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to know what the motion
We
is.
have a motion from Veranda for the town to sign the MOU with the, with Fort Dummer State Park, with a cap of $300 and with the directive for the rec commission to work out the details with both the state and Penny.
well put.
And Richard seconded.
Have you been to the swimming hole there?
No, but my son has it and he loves it.
I never know.
Alright.
I didn't really.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Great
Thanks so
job.
much for all the
Thank
work.
you.
Thank
guys
you,
do.
yeah, that's really
Awesome.
great. That's a gift to the town.
It really is.
Thanks.
Alright, moving on, grants and aid
Do-
letter.
I'm sorry,
Oh.
do they need an actual signature on that at the moment?
Well, I think they need to go back and talk to the state with, and make sure the cap is good to
Yeah,
go,
okay.
and then I think Sheila
You can
will.
then contact me and I'll get Sheila to sign it.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks so much for coming. Grants and aid letter of interest, intent. Thank you.
Yep, so last year, actually Gabby presented this to us, and you guys moved, and we ended up getting $20,900 to work on our hydrologically connected roads. So last fall, the road crew did a bunch of work on stone lining the ditch over on Carpenter Hill Road on this side of it, and currently, actually today, they just began work over on 2 different sections on Bonnievale, which they'll be completing up.
They did one at Packer Corners Road too. There's a lot of stone around a culvert.
Oh, so that was actually a totally different project.
Oh. It wasn't in this grant.
Nope.
Oh.
It wasn't part of it. So the grants and aid was only for Carpenter Hill and for Bonnievale. So the state announced that this has come up again. The grants and aid program for this year is to help towns do their, and Gabby, hopefully you can help me with the road inventory for the hydrologically connected roads. I think that this is important for Guilford because we have the second highest amount of hydrologically connected roads in all of Windham County after Brattleboro and Westminster are tied for first.
And just, I mean, when you inventory, it literally means getting in the ditches, taking pictures, ranking every single.
Which we
road.
have to do.
We have to do by
Anyway.
state statute.
Yep, because of Act 64, we're
Right.
required to do this. So basically, this will be some free money with a town match.
We have to apply for it, though.
Yeah, so we have to, you guys have to make a motion and then
Intent.
sign this letter of intent, and that's it.
Well, I'll make a motion
Wait, yeah, make the motion.
Was that in the materials?
It was.
to sign the letter of intent to participate in the RPC/DEC municipal roads grants in aid program for this year.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so Gord made the motion to approve the letter of intent, and Richard seconded. I said one question, what's the match, Peter? I think it was about 4,000
It's
something.
4687, I believe, is what it was. I can tell you in just a couple seconds if you don't mind.
I think it was gonna be 24,000 total with a 4,000 something match.
That's correct.
Okay.
Good.
And
And
do we
so-
know where the
20.
money is coming from?
So Sheila and I briefly spoke about that, and because this was just announced, we hadn't planned on it. It was not budgeted for this upcoming year. So the proposal to the select board was to have it come out of the Highway Reserve Fund, unless somebody has a better location, but that would be the best place for it.
That's fine, and the Highway Reserve Fund, after the trailer purchase is at about $118,000, so we have
We can,
good money.
And, you know, so it provide a minimum of 20% local match in kind or cash, and cash. So the match includes qualified in-kind contributions such as transportation, municipally owned road equipment, crew labor,
Yep.
et cetera. So
So we could
there are a
match
lot
with
of things in
labor, right?
kind that I think,
And so that's what we're doing, for example, with this year's grants and
Right.
aid, is we're matching it with labor and equipment
Right.
from the road crew.
so it may not hit the budget as hard as,
But if there's any amount that
Right.
needs
but
to.
I agree with earmarking.
So
it
to
on
answer
this
your
one.
question, Gabby, the grant is $19,500 with a match of $4,875 from the town.
So I have
and
a
it's
question.
non-competitive, right?
That is correct, it is non-competitive.
What would you say the match was for?
4,875 for a grand total of $24,375.
So, for the work of assessing and photographing all of those culvert areas or places where the stream goes under, is that something that our road crew does themselves? Or do we hire somebody to come and do that documentation?
Windham Regional Commission has been helping the commissioners do it. They'll go with the commissioners because the commissioners have the most boots on the ground knowledge, and they can say, oh, here's all the problems. So it'll be a combination, but the actual reporting has been done by WRC.
Oh,
and their
okay,
project
great.
staff, rather than having our, road crew necessarily be out there with the
Crawling,
camera.
right, I just wondered whether
Yeah,
that
no,
was
it's a very good
skill
question.
they had.
And I think if it's okay, if you can make sure to put in the minutes that, in kind or match coming from the Highway Reserve Fund, so we know what we thought we did.
Yep.
Good point.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
In other words, you would put the 4875 in the budget to just protect us, is that what you're saying?
Just to say it comes
Yeah.
from, we would anticipate that it's coming from the Highway Reserve Fund.
Right, yeah,
As needed.
If needed,
yeah.
Yep.
if cash ready.
But we're hoping in kind.
I didn't see my in-kind.
And based on the work they've been doing this year, I would suspect that.
Yes,
I would
well, that's
suspect
what I'm
that's the
thinking
case,
too. So I
Yeah,
think it's
that's
good
good.
to have it in there,
To have it.
especially when we go, where are we gonna take this
I
from?
look at them in a minute.
Yeah.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Well, terrific.
All right. Moving on to the town mowing RFP. And
So-
my guess is that's why Tara's
That
here.
is why Tara- So unfortunately, Tara, Sheila was sick, has been sick, and that's why she's not here. And unfortunately did not share the RFP with the rest of the select board, so they have not had a chance to take a look at it. Gabby
Can I present it?
Gabby can decide that, that's her. role.
I mean, if you want to say, like, take 5 minutes and talk about it, that's fine, but,
Yeah, I'd like to hear
we're,
about it.
yeah, we're not gonna likely vote on it tonight,
Yeah, that's fine.
but that way you don't have to come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm Tara Cheney, and I share a business with my husband, Vermont Roadworks, and we do asphalt paving and driveway maintenance, property maintenance, year-round property maintenance, and winter snow removal. And so I just wanted to say that I did not know about this RFP, and I heard from town people a couple weeks ago that something might be going on. And then I played some email tag and ended up getting the RFP last week. I myself have been very ill with Lyme disease and have missed a lot of work lately. So I was homesick Thursday and Friday, and I did this from home, but I didn't realize that you guys are on a fiscal year. So July 1 to June 30. And most landscaping contracts are seasonal. So they're end of April, May to November. So what I did is I gave 2 proposals. I gave one for your fiscal year and one for our season, and explained it. So Peter, I just sent this to you from here.
I saw it pop
Okay.
up, actually.
Thank you.
So this is the RFP,
Thank you, John.
and this is based on 12 properties. 8 of them get mowed weekly. A few of them get mowed as needed. Every property. And I'll also share this. These are the properties that we have, and that's just our log that we keep. You could pass it around. Excuse me. So, and of the other properties, the other 4 properties would get mowed as needed. They all have cleanups, spring and fall cleanups. So I broke it out for each property, what we do, the price. Doing a fiscal year, it adds 8 mowings and 1 cleanup. So I added that. And within that, Vermont Roadworks wants to donate our work to the town for the Guilford Playscape, because Fred and I, we grew up here. I've done a lot of volunteer coaching for years, and so has he, and we love kids, and we love recreation, and we love what these people are doing. So that is definitely beneficial. That's a savings of over $3,000 to the town. And the other thing is that if we were awarded this, we'd want to start as soon as possible, and we would just count. I have 15 mowings in for the seasonal, and then I think it's 22 for the fiscal. But we would, if we were awarded it, we would start right away, because it's July 1st is your first day, and I mean, we've been mowing since the last week in April, so I'm assuming that properties are ready.
And you have room to fit us in your schedule?
Yes, we have a very great lawn crew, and we have a lot of equipment. We have 2 brand new zero turns and lots of equipment, and we have very, very competent crew. They're all seasoned, they've all been with us, and they're all really good workers.
And insured.
Absolutely, fully.
Workers' compensation.
Yes. We have an umbrella policy as well. But knock on wood, we've been in business 4 years and we've never had a workers' comp claim. Safety is like the utmost. And doing winter snow removal, that's, I'm pretty proud to say that.
Terry, just to understand, maybe I missed something in your presentation because I was looking at other things.
Sure.
The total and then the amended edition, what's the number that I'm looking at on some of these? Some of them have a total and then an amended edition below it.
Yes,
for the
the
fiscal
total for July 1st.
Okay, so that, I just wanted to be clear, that is what you're describing is
Yeah,
the,
that's the 15,000.
the partial year,
If we
okay.
started July 1st
Yep.
and went to June
Gotcha,
30th
thank
of
you.
next year, it would be
Right.
that additional for 23,650. Actually, I have an extra one here. Did somebody not get
Sheila,
Yeah, I'll need to share with
I mean, I can, send it via email, but here's a hard copy anyway.
Thank you.
So I imagine that you'd like to have a response to this RFP quickly, given that.
So the next select board meeting is on the 25th,
Right,
so that'd be the next time they could decide.
okay. Do you have any special meetings? I mean, would you decide at that meeting and?
That's up to them.
Okay.
I think what we'd do is take this with us,
Yep.
look at our finances, probably talk to the cemetery commission too, because that's a large part of what what the mowing would entail is actually relating to the cemeteries. And
In fact-
then,
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
and then I think our hope would be to have a discussion with a vote at the next meeting.
Okay, can I just clarify something? Carpenter Hill Cemetery, what is Carpenter Hill Cemetery called? Because I don't see it on that list, and maybe
Carpenter.
It says number 4 is
It
Carpenter
is, it's on here.
Cemetery.
Oh, is it not, wait,
Yeah.
I'm not Carpenter Hill, I'm sorry.
Stark Cemetery? That was NA.
The one on Cemetery Hill?
We don't take care of that cemetery.
Oh, okay, because
Yeah,
I
we
visited
don't-
that property and then didn't see it on.
By
the
we,
RFP.
I mean the cemetery
Okay,
commission.
okay.
We don't do Christ Church, we don't do Cemetery Hill.
Is that part of the cemetery committee?
The cemetery commission does the ones that are on your list.
Okay.
And the others have some private organization that does it.
Okay.
Baker, Franklin, Cemetery Hill, Christ Church, and I think the one in West Guilford, they all do that. And so it would be really helpful to me if you emailed to me this so I could just circulate it directly to the cemetery commissioners so they could have a look at it and we could expedite it.
I'll share it with you, Brenda.
Pardon?
I will share it with you.
Oh, why, thank you.
She just sent it to me.
Terrific.
So I don't mean to make things more muddy. I'm a little confused about the cemetery commission. Because,
Yeah, go ahead.
only because I had reached out to you and we did the Christchurch Cemetery, we mowed it because it hadn't been mowed prior to Memorial Day. So I'm wondering who I need to talk to.
Maybe, I think if you get in touch with Laura Lewis,
Okay,
she'll be able to
Okay.
direct you to whoever is making those decisions.
Sure.
I mean, the cemetery commission and you were on the same page of just trying to get this
Right,
done,
right.
whether it's hours
right.
or
And-
not.
And that can all be figured out later.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to.
No,
be
but this
part of
has been a long slog for the cemetery commission trying to find people with the requisite insurance to do so.
Right. My first job was mowing the Christchurch Cemetery when I was 12. My grandmother was on the cemetery commission for years. Full circle.
Were you insured?
I wasn't, not when I was 12.
It's don't ask, don't tell, Guilford style.
If I may, I'd just like to publicly acknowledge Vermont Roadworks and thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for
Yeah.
mowing the playscape. We've been trying to get it mowed for a long time and so the kids can use it and
Right.
use it safely without fear of the ticks. And you guys came in and you saved the day and we
Yeah.
really appreciate
Thank
it.
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And Sheila asked me to share her appreciation with Vermont Roadworks for that donation to the town. So
Oh,
they
great.
mowed it last week and donated it to the town.
Thank you.
So
Thank you very
for
much.
that.
Yeah, and the cemetery commission will really be looking forward to, if all goes according to plan, to helping your workers with the finer points of all these cemeteries. The
Okay.
good, the bad, and the treacherous.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Tara,
Thanks for
for
stopping
attending
by.
the meeting and sharing this.
Good news.
Yeah, it's great. Well, thank you for bidding.
Yes.
All
Thank you
right,
very much.
thank you, Tara. Moving on to BDCC USDA letter of support. That was, I don't know much about it, but it was circulated with our materials.
Yes, I read
It was, so, last year, BDCC had applied for a USDA Community Facilities and Technical Assistance and Training Grant. And in order to apply to that, they needed letters of support from all of the towns that they serve within their work area. So the town did, you guys approved one last year and we sent it in. And unfortunately last year, BDCC did not get the grant, but it is open again and they're applying again for this. And so they have requested a letter of support from the town, and they said that we could reuse the same letter as we did last year and just obviously change the dates on it, and that would be helpful for them in the work that they're doing to help the low-income families in our communities, as well as work on creating jobs in the area.
And so is their proposal different in some way from the proposal that was turned down last year?
I don't know the details
Okay.
of that. That's a good question to ask them.
I would be in favor of sending a letter of support, however.
You want us to make a motion to that effect?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Sure, I'll second it.
So Richard moved to approve to send the letter. Brenda seconded. Any discussion?
Well, I'd like to know what, I'll be looking forward to the information about what they're, I certainly support.
I think it's in the, didn't
The
they?
draft letter circulated, but
But not the content of the grant.
no.
No, but it referenced what the grant was for.
In the most
Yes.
general
Yeah.
way.
Yes.
And they did not send us a copy of the grant application or more details other than.
Well, but it
what
was,
in
I
the
mean,
letter.
it's the same as last year, it's to be a provider to provide technical assistance for
Right.
the area to help people apply for USDA rural development,
Yes.
I believe community facilities grants.
Yeah.
So to increase the number of people or organizations who are applying for these through the USDA.
Okay, good enough.
That's my understanding.
Mhm.
My only comment is to take I think it's on the second paragraph, the last line that talks about the Grange, that they're likely to use USDA RD funding, because that's not the case.
Okay, just looking through the.
Sure.
Oh, you mean last year's letter had?
Oh,
The
yeah.
draft letter.
Yeah.
Listen,
So then I
they're
should
not
change the
likely.
motion with the amendmentation of
Sorry, I should've done that earlier.
removing the Grange from this last paragraph.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion unanimously passes. All right. Moving on to the Kirchheimer Drive Solar Project, under discussions and updates. And I know, Peter, I'm gonna let you type a little bit, I'll just give an introduction that Peter did a great job and did a bunch of research and called the PUC today. And followed up on our questions about the issues that arose with this solar project. We got a 45-day notice, whether it was properly served, because we didn't receive it in mail. It's unclear, but we did receive a 45-day notice. And Peter, do you
Sure.
good to take it
Yeah,
from there?
yeah,
I was
I
just
can-
trying to
I
give you
can
time to type.
No, it's okay, thank you. So as I was shared with you by Sheila over the weekend in your preparation materials, the two different parties, the abutters and the developer, have differing opinions on what the select board should do. In contacting the PUC, I talked to the clerk of the PUC today, had a great conversation with her this afternoon. And at this point, all this is 45-day notice is to inform abutters and the town that they intend to file an amendment to their original.
They being the developer.
They being Sovereign Solar intend to file an amendment to their original certificate of public good. What that amendment is, we've heard speculation, but until it is actually filed with the Public Utilities Commission, we don't know what the facts of that amendment are. And so he has until the end of this week to to file that, and then there'll be a 21-day comment period after that has been filed. That comment period, as was shared with me from the clerk, that comment period is for the public in general. Technically, the town could submit a comment if the select board wished, but the time for that really actually comes after his amendment has been made. And that is, if the select board feels that his amendment is not within the public good, then the select board can submit what's called a notice of intervention. And that is taken very seriously by the Public Utilities Commission. It's given much more weight than public comment. And there will then be some back and forth between the town. But that's after, if you feel it's, that's correct. You have to know what the amendment is. And so part of what was shared at the previous couple meetings was things that have happened in the past. And regardless of one's opinion on them, that has been adjudicated by the Public Utilities Commission. And unfortunately is not the topic of the current amendment. So the only facts that we really know right now.
By which, so that we can take away from that, is that the abutters in regard to that, the folks who were here who were unhappy about what happened there have no.
They've had their recourse.
They've had
their time in court, and the developer's fine.
Yep.
It might be unsatisfactory, and it was a horrible process, but that's.
Right.
That's
so now we have to go on with this amendment,
Right.
which is now open for public comment.
Right, and so what?
Okay, so I'm unclear.
No, so
Why
what
wasn't
you
there an amendment with what they did then? That's what I don't understand.
So, I mean, this is a really unusual case, right? Because what would usually happen is that you send this 45-day letter out to everybody. If there's a problem and you hear back from an abutter or the town or somebody, you work it out before you file your application, right? Because the idea is let people know what's going on, give them your proposed plan, and work it out. What the developer didn't do was give everybody notice when they moved the solar arrays, okay? So now we're sort of in having to fill in what didn't happen, right? So he's going through the same process, but it's already built. But the PUC, from my understanding, is treating it like it's not built.
But that's what I'm
right. So the 45-day notice would be your time where you sort of talk to the developer and say, hey, we're sort of okay with this, or hey, here's a red flag, and then the developer would go back and fix it or do it or not fix it, depending on his or the developer's discussions with abutters in the town.
But the amendment could be that it basically be retroactive to what the project is and saying, I want to amend this to say where it is, where I'm going to put it,
Right.
even though that wasn't where the original location was.
Right, it's an amendment of the original location,
Yeah.
right? So he's going to, the developer, if that's what happens when he files his amendment, is he files the site
Yep.
where it is now.
Gotcha.
And that's the amendment.
Then that's the amendment. Or maybe he'll take people's considerations to heart and move all of the panels. And then after we file the amendment, after the developer files the amendment and we actually know what the site plans are for real, I mean, what the developer's intentions are stated to the PUC,
Right.
then we have time to take action.
Okay, so
it's
it is
confusing
part
on a
of
number
it.
It's confusing on a number of
But no, thank you
layers.
for clarifying.
And it's
I
also that the
appreciate
rules changed last year, which is what you were seeing
Right.
us have a discussion about at the WRC. That the rules actually changed last year, but presumably they're under the old rule, so.
Oh, they're sort of grandfathered
I would
into.
assume, yeah,
that's
it's
what-
a major,
that's what's
because it's an
unclear.
amendment. It's a major,
So we'll have
it's a
to see.
major amendment. It's not a new application, but it's a major amendment that they're treating as if
Right.
it wasn't built.
Right.
And this
So-
is also a unique situation for the
So
public.
is there a scope of public comment? I mean, it's not really our role, I'm just curious about what the public can comment on.
Comment on anything. They can
Yeah,
write
during
letters.
the
I
meeting,
don't,
yeah.
I don't like the solar.
It's starting
Or I
from the
want
beginning,
solar in my
basically.
town. or-
Yeah, it could be anything, and anyone, you know.
So this is open to anyone within Guilford can make comment as a public individual.
It's not just the abutters.
That is correct.
Right,
Yeah.
correct.
I see.
So that's where we are.
But as far as
Great.
the role
That's
of the select board at this point
Very helpful.
is,
I think it's a wait and see what it, they
But the
actually file the
P,
amendment
right,
for.
exactly, and then the PUC.
Then we
get
can
back
either
to us.
decide to comment or not comment,
Right.
or do whatever,
But you can't comment. something
whatever
you don't
action
know.
we decide to
Good.
take or not to take.
Yeah.
That's very helpful.
Yes, and since
oh,
we
sorry.
have no regulation in our town, we would rely on hypothetical neighborliness and best practices which are undefined.
Well, I think that's a discussion for a later time,
Yeah.
but,
Sure
what I would
is.
say. Steve?
Can I make the assumption that the select board is now using the Windham Regional Commission maps that were as part of the vision, goals, discussion, policies, and actions of the planning commission's energy policy? Because these are the ones that are April 2017. It shows the town of Guilford possible constraints for energy generation in different ways. One of which is particularly important to me is the FEMA special flood hazard areas. And so these maps show you where it shouldn't, where any development shouldn't be. And it also shows one map where the town of Guilford wind energy potential and the town of Guilford solar potential. So it would, the town of Guilford solar resource would make sense to look at this, I think, and say, is the Kirchheimer, if it were to happen again, as it sort of is starting again, even though it's already in place, is it in a place where it should or shouldn't be, based on these maps?
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at the planning commission, I think, came at the last select
Is
board
the
meeting.
I
draft?
think it's this.
Right,
That hasn't been
It has
approved.
not been approved yet.
So we have to go, if we were to use the town plan, it would be the approved town plan.
well, let me
And that's not the approved town plan, so I think we would have to.
separate these maps from the town plan. That when the regional commission has gone through and shown where the town of Guilford can have, should have, would have, could have put solar arrays and where they should not do them. So I would just suggest that the board look at these maps each time a certificate of public good comes through for any wind or solar or
Yes,
other development, to say,
suggestion.
this is where it should be or shouldn't be,
Yeah.
right?
Any other discussion? All right.
Thank you again, Gabby, for the clarification.
And thank you, Steve, for
And-
that.
and Steve.
Yeah,
And then also, just one comment is, if we're going to show up to a WRC committee meeting, we should just probably talk to the rep.
Oh,
first.
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw it on the agenda and the town of
Yeah.
Guilford was involved, I figured, why not go
Touch
to it?
base, yeah. Because I could have told you. We could have just, no. I would just suggest that as a select board, we use our resources.
I did not
Yeah.
have that totally
I don't know what
planned.
you're referring to.
I showed up at a
Oh, for heaven's
WRC meeting.
I know, he had nothing else to do with his night.
No, I had plenty to do, but it was a last minute opening, so I
Yeah,
apologize. I
No,
didn't give
I was
you
just saying
a
we should
heads
just,
up.
we should use our resources,
Of
because
course.
I think that's actually, like, they're a good resource to use.
Yeah. Well, that
Well,
map
like
is
I-
an example of their resources.
And I think I saw it on something Peter sent out, that this was on the agenda for it. I didn't know,
No,
It
I
was
know,
on, so-
and if you have somebody on the committee, then you can use them
I will
to
plan to.
further, because the people at the commissioners of WRC are always looking to support their towns.
Of course,
So
I wasn't
that's-
questioning
No,
that.
but so if they know what if there's a way to help their towns and support them throughout the process, that's what they're looking
I
at.
learned a lot attending that meeting. Steve has lots to get excited about.
You can't change your mind now.
No, in a good way. It's good meeting.
Next, TOEC update, which I think is also, Sheila's gonna have a discussion about one of her sessions that she attended, but I'm actually gonna suggest maybe it would be easier if, because I thought we were supposed to do summaries if we went to meetings and then put them into the Dropbox. I'm gonna suggest maybe that's a way to get that discussion moving.
I agree.
Flood and fluvial erosion ordinance communications.
Yep, so
one
Sheila,
There's one guy left to deal, no.
That's me sitting.
Sheila asked me to just share a brief message. At the discussion 3 select board meetings ago, in which she kind of presented some of the conversations she's had with Steve and others in town about the upcoming vote in November about this, that one of the action points was to at least once a month or more to share the information with residents. And so Sheila just wanted everyone to know that she did post it on Front Porch Forum again and share all of the detailed information that was discussed previously with town residents.
Are we waiting for a date to have these discussions with the public?
You'll have to
Confirm.
ask Sheila that.
Okay, well, I know there was the communication committee was gonna meet and have a conversation, I think, about this, and I
We're
don't
gonna have
know.
a plan of how to communicate it.
And I think, I mean, we are going to have a series of public meetings. And, you know, I'd have to go get.
No,
my
that's
notes
okay, I hadn't
to,
heard anything on
Maybe
that
I could
front.
offer sort of an overview. There are a number of initiatives happening with the Conservation Commission, the Planning Commission, the Green River Watershed Association, and some of those individual organizations are having meetings that are certainly related to the subject, but not directly related to the select board situation. There will be some articles in the Gazette, and there'll be one session with the Green River Group about what happened during Irene. So I'm not certain there will be a public meeting the same way we had it before, which was to start all over again, but that may very well happen. That hasn't quite been decided on. But the other ones are longer term and are in place to some degree already, including, just in case somebody says something to you, the July, I think the Gazette date for the fall issue is July 1. So if anybody, any of us, any of you have things, I think there was a discussion about having an article from the select board stating the position of the select board, for example, you know, in one of the Gazette issues or something. So each individual organization is working sort of separately but intertwined, and that's why Sheila wants it to continue, because it's not just from this group or from me as it was before. It's from people in town who believe, you know, in sharing stories or sharing their feelings about it.
No, I think that's great, and I think that supports the whole discussion. But I still think that the select board heard loud and clear from a group of voters that, you know, perhaps we need more information before the select board makes this decision, and we heard that loud and clear, and now it's gonna be voted on, and the last thing I wanna see are the voters of the town of Guilford not fully understanding this. So I guess I'm more of an opinion, I'd like to see another formal meeting where, you know, the residents can understand.
Yeah, and I didn't mean that there wasn't going to be one of those, but when Veranda was saying there'll be a series of public meetings, it's not like a series of the same meeting, the same meeting repeated 5 times. It's multiple organizations that are, because the we who need more information are both those people who are directly impacted by it and those people who aren't. So in order for the entire town to be conversant with the issue and to vote knowledgeably in November, we collectively and the organizations need to get information out to everybody in town.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve.
On that. And I would just put in a plug for the stream table, because I thought that the demonstration that Marie Caduto did for the Green River Watershed Alliance was very effective. So as far as speaking about what happens with rivers, so you can visually see things change over time and see what happens, why we have culverts, why we have these, why regulations are important, how they're being put into place, that it's not just sort of a random X amount of feet from a bank.
Fish and Wildlife has a van called WOW, which is Watershed on Wheels, and I'm trying to get them to schedule a time when they could come to the community and potentially early in the school year to show what they like to do is set it up so it's a couple days at the school and then a day or two within the community. So it might be perfect for the Guilford Fair, you know, at the same time, because the Watershed on Wheels is a full van with all kinds of, including a very impressive watershed.
That's a great idea.
That's a really good
Well,
idea.
and also the Guilford Fair is such a coming together place. And I think in our conversations about how to share our communication more effectively, we have felt that we wanted to have much more of a coming together atmosphere rather than we're going to impose this and you've got to bear it. I mean, that's not the spirit in which any of us are working.
No.
And so finding the right framework for expressing that and where people can come to a greater understanding is terribly valuable, and that's just a brilliant
I
suggestion.
think the biggest issue for all of us is education.
Yeah.
Is
I
you
agree.
can have an ordinance, you know, about leaves on the trees, but that doesn't mean everybody's gonna read it or do anything about it, you know? So if this ordinance, bylaw, core ordinance brings the people together to learn collectively so that they know what they can and can't do, we've made a big step forward from where we were back in 2007. So I think anything that furthers the education will bring people together in that same commonality.
That's great.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Brilliant.
All right, moving right on to finance.
Have you looked at?
I have.
Okay.
I would.
I will make the, if you want me to, I'll present, but I have not seen the final numbers. So can you do it as the chair?
I would I'll do it this way.
Okay.
I would entertain a motion to pay the following payroll and warrants. Payroll for the week ending May 3rd, 2018, in the amount of $7,349.08. Payroll for the week ending in May 11th, 2018, in the amount of $5,511.80. Expense warrant 1823 in the amount of $47,054.94. And expense warrant FW23 in the amount of $99 for a grand total of $60,014.82, with the biggest expenditures being a passive payment for our insurance.
Okay, I saw that.
That's
So
in
moved.
1823.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All right, all
No.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
And you guys did not sign the letter of intent for the grants and aid, so if you could sign that.
Doesn't Sheila just sign it?
No, the whole,
Are we all signed?
yep.
All right, no problem. I'll leave the top line open.
Other communications?
The only other communication actually was from Sheila.
Oh, what is she?
Part of the invoices this week was an invoice from MT3 for some work that they had done moving some equipment for Dan. And part of that that was not included is
Yeah, but I'm gonna
Dan
hand that
has
to you.
used MT3 a number of times this spring to move equipment locally within town. And I spoke with Mike Kachuk, kept pushing him for that invoice, and he said that is a donation to the town. And so Sheila wanted to thank MT3 for their services to the town.
And we won't need them anymore because we're gonna have the trailer.
Well, we'll need them from, perhaps. We always
Oh,
need,
alongside?
Yeah.
but yes, with our new trailer, we're not gonna need that service.
Yes.
At the last meeting, did we thank Ellie for Green Up Day? Did anyone?
I believe that Sheila did.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Things certainly did
Thank you.
green up.
Did. All right.
About time too.
Without any
I
further
motion
ado.
for adjournment.
If Sheila did, I think you're right, because I don't recall that, but maybe she did personally. I don't know if she did publicly.
So we're adjourning at 7:57.
Oh, I didn't hear a second.
I didn't either.
Oh, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Great.
Adjourned.
Good job.
Hey, well done.